Today I'll be talking about three topics, and all three topics are related to remote sensing in agriculture. In the first topic of my presentation, I'll be talking about mapping rice and number of rice planted in Vietnam. The idea there is, can we use remote sensing to figure out where the rice is growing in the Mekong Delta, and not only where the rice is growing, but how many cycles of rice is growing, because there's a big push for the Vietnam government to grow more rice in the Mekong Delta. In the second part of my presentation, I'll be talking about remote sensing of yield assessment at the field scale. People have been trying to do yield at the field scale for over 30 years, and there was some success with that using remote sensing. In our approach, what we're doing is we're merging remotely sensed data with crop models, simple crop models, and the idea is we know that the remote sensing is wrong, but we know that the crops are wrong, crop models are wrong. But by merging the two using data assimilation tools, we think that we can actually do better. So the idea there is that we take remotely sensed observations, greenness data from remotely sensed observations, and then we bring those into a crop model and update the predictions of yield every time there's a remote sensing observation from space or from airborne platforms. And the idea there again is to produce a field scale yield data for every field, for every crop given an area. And in the third part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about mapping water loss through evapotranspiration for individual fields. And the idea there is that we have satellites with thermal cameras on them, and using that thermal observation, we have the ability to convert observations into amount of evapotranspiration leaving, especially in irrigated crops. So as you can see, what we're trying to do is we're trying to use satellite data and big data and analytics to map three different variables: where the crops are and what type of crops growing in a particular area, what is their productivity, that's the yield part, and how much water they're losing, especially in irrigated settings. And when we are combining all of these data at the field scale, we are equipped with very powerful information. And the idea there is that once equipped with that information, perhaps organizations like ICRISAT can take that data and then come up with management decisions. For example, we may be able to figure out how much water do we have to apply to a field in order to get so much productivity. So we could get at questions like water productivity, amount of water that needs to be added to produce a unit amount of yield.